We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
Teníamos que comer.
¿Qué te dijo tu mamá antes de irte?
Me dijo, no vayas a llorar, pollo llora. Me decía que no me diera por vencido, que si llega teníamos que llegar bajo la misericordia de Dios. Y también me dijo que iba yo a tener una mejor vida.
The minute that...
And, you know, and the batteries that propel them, well, what do you say about that?
Well, what was his first order of business right after he got inaugurated? 11,000 energy jobs immediately eliminated in the United States of America. You were right. Under President Donald Trump, we were energy independent. We were a net energy exporter for the first time in history. That meant that we were no longer reliant on the Middle East, no longer reliant on Russia for anything. Think about not only how great that was for the United States, just from taxpayers and our pocketbooks sense, but, you know, on the world stage, national security, we have lost that. We are back in the Paris Climate Accord. We are back in these nonsensical deals that hurt Americans and do nothing but virtue signal. That is what this administration, the Biden-Harris or Harris-Biden administration, is all about, virtue signaling. It's ridiculous.
Well, and, you know, and last to you, Congressman Donalds, you know, the truth is that, you know, America, according to Joe Biden, is now in a better situation with the rest of the world. What is your take on that, on his foreign policy, especially with Iran?
We're in a better position today because of what President Trump did, holding Iran accountable, holding Russia accountable, holding China accountable. But unfortunately, what they're looking at in this administration is weakness. The Iranians are licking their chops because they know they're trying to get a pile of new money, and they're going to start with their nuclear fission program again. The Russians feel that they have more room. We're not in a good place. What we need across the world, and this is consistent, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, you need to project American strength and American power. That doesn't mean you're going to war. That doesn't mean you're dropping troops all over the world. What it means is making sure these foreign leaders understand that America needs business. We're not going to put up with foolishness, and that you're going to behave yourself. That's why with our relationship with North Korea, the last 4 years was the calmest it has ever been, because Kim Jong-un understood that President Trump meant business.
That's right. Congressman Byron Donalds and Laura Trump, thanks so much for being with us tonight. And still ahead, Leo Terrell, Tommy Lauren, Joe Concha, and more. But first, frightening new threats from an old enemy. Can Biden's national security policy keep America safe? Rick Grinnell breaks it all down next. Don't go away. Dangerous enemies and adversaries continue to plot against the United States. Al-Qaeda resurfacing with a chilling threat against America that they will continue war on all fronts until all U.S. forces are expelled from the Islamic world. This, while just a few weeks ago, we heard a dire warning about at least 2 people on the terror watch list coming in at our vulnerable southern border. Former acting director of national intelligence, Rick Grinnell, joins me now with reaction to it all. All right, good evening, Rick. Let's talk about not just the entrance of the illegals who are coming through the southern border, but terrorists coming through the southern border. And then I'd like you to make a comment on Al-Qaeda. I mean, when was the last time you heard Al-Qaeda?
Let's take that outrage first. I mean, Al-Qaeda, this is a real problem for the Biden administration. I think Congressman Donald said it best. He said what Trump gave was accountability. And I couldn't agree more. And what we have right now is an administration that wants to be liked. And you can't be in these situations and want to be liked, because that gives the power over to others. So whether it's the border issue, whether it's our enemies inside Afghanistan, whether it's the Russians' buildup in the Ukraine, we are seeing all of these other countries and leaders testing Joe Biden to see how far they can go. And right now, Biden's criteria is he's allowing people to go really far, push the limits, because he doesn't want to be disliked. He wants the world to like him and for us to kind of hug and move forward. And when you have that criteria, when you have the criteria that you really want the other side to like you, you become really weak and the power goes into their hands.
And what about the southern border?
Look, the southern border is a real problem right now because it's porous. What we're seeing is the messaging from the Biden administration is a welcome attitude towards people who are jumping the line and trying to sneak into the country. When you try to welcome people who are breaking the law, the message gets out to groups all over the world that the border is porous and that you can get into the United States. This is going to be a problem because we have seen in the past where not only just Latin Americans who are trying to break the law and come into our country, but we've seen terrorists try to come in through the United States southern border. This is a real problem, and what, again, I go back to what the Biden administration has to be able to do is say to the world, look, we're very generous. 1 million people a year get to become U.S. citizens, but we have a line because 100 million people want to come in. So we have to make sure that we shut down the southern border, that we stop it from line jumpers and terrorists from coming in.
And with the Biden administration, with the policies that they have of people, of their need to have other countries like us and go back into like the Paris Climate Accord and everything else, I mean, they see us as weaker. But those in the Middle East in particular, they actually, if they're on the same Al-Qaeda, their mission is to kill us. How do we stop this?
Well, first of all, we have to stop making it our goal of consensus with the Europeans or with others. We need to have an America First policy. We have a policy that's best for Americans, and then our diplomats need to go out and convince other countries why our policy is also good for them. And by the way, we did that in the Trump administration. We were able to show our Arab allies that when America is strong, you are better protected. There's a rules system. I mean, let's just take joining the Paris Climate Accord for one example. A whole bunch of countries want us to join because they want money. They want us to pay. But we're already doing the hard work of lowering our CO2, building our economy. We did this during the Trump administration. China and India are not. Let's start holding people accountable, as the congressman said.
Well, and you know what? Unfortunately, Joe Biden's not into that. Anyway, Rick Grinnell, so great to have you on Justice Tonight. Thanks for being with us. And next, the true cost of Biden's spending.
The U.S. military machine is a fearsome and gargantuan beast. Last year the U.S. splurged an incredible $944 billion on its military, accounting for roughly 37% of the entire global defense budget. The White House's annual spend is the equivalent of the next 7 biggest defense spenders: China, Saudi Arabia, UK, India, France and Japan, added together. America doesn't just have some of the most advanced weaponry at its disposal, it has about 800 military bases outside the United States. The U.S. Air Force is the world's largest air force, the U.S. Navy is the world's largest navy by tonnage, and the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Marine Corps combined are the world's second largest air arm. To better understand just how big the American military is, U.S. Air Force. control the skies, win the war. The U.S. Air Force will pound enemies with devastating consequences for weeks before a ground invasion begins. No expense has been spared assembling a frightening array of planes designed to win air superiority, rapidly respond anywhere on the globe, conduct surveillance and build intelligence. As of 2017, the Air Force had more than 5,300 aircraft, 406 nuclear-capable intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, and 170 military satellites. Drones have also recently become a recent deadly item of military hardware to call on. Three types of long-range and stealth bombers, totaling 152 planes, can take to the air and drop nuclear bombs and conventional weapons. The Air Force has 74 B-52 Stratofortress bombers, 59 B-1 Lancers and 19 B-2 Spirits. The jewels in the U.S. Air Force crown are 1,442 blisteringly fast fighter jets, including the F-16, F-15, F-22 and F-35, all armed with high-powered cannons and missiles. All the hardware and tech is flown, operated and supported by 321,444 active-duty airmen, 141,000 civilian personnel, 69,000 reservists and more than 100,000 in the Air National Guard. U.S. Navy. The U.S. understands the importance of dominating the seas, and have assembled a formidable navy. There are 336,978 sailors on active duty and 101,583 in reserve. America has 11 active aircraft carriers to patrol the world's oceans, with 2 more in production. Its nuclear-powered aircraft carriers have an almost unlimited range. A single aircraft carrier, transporting fighter jets and bombers, is typically supported by 3 destroyers or cruisers, a frigate and 2 attack submarines. The U.S. Navy has 68 modern destroyers, capable of countering threats on and below the water and from the air. More than 50 submarines, many capable of silently launching Trident nuclear missile strikes hidden from view, can sail into battle with 22 frigates and 15 corvette vessels. Many U.S. ships can launch the feared BGM-109 Tomahawk missiles, with Harpoon missiles and Sidewinders also well-known weapons in the U.S. Navy quiver. The Navy's other nuclear weapon is the air-deployed B-61 nuclear bomb, a thermonuclear device that can be dropped by the F/A-18 Hornet and Super Hornet. Naval aircraft can drop all kinds of smart and cluster bombs on the enemy. In total, U.S. naval assets total 415. The Navy is bolstered with more than 3,600 aircraft and 50,000 non-combat vehicles. U.S. Army. There are more than 1 million active U.S. soldiers, comprised of 476,000 regular troops, a 343,000-strong National Guard and U.S. Army Reserves totaling 199,000 soldiers. The U.S. has 6,200 combat tanks to support its soldiers, a significant number but less than Russia and China. It has 39,200 armored vehicles, which include armored personnel carrier and infantry fighting vehicles. The U.S. Army can shell its enemies with 1050 vehicles with mounted rockets, and 864 towable artillery cannons and deadly field guns. U.S. Marine Corps. The fabled U.S. Marine Corps, also known as jarheads and leathernecks, conducts expeditionary and amphibious operations with the U.S. Navy, Army and Air Force. Here 186,000 active duty Marines and some 38,500 in reserve, making it the smallest U.S. military service. In line with its agile operational remit, the Marines have an array of weaponry at their disposal, including almost 20,000 armored carriers and trucks, 400 M1 Abrams tanks and 1,300 amphibious assault vehicles. From the air, the Marines can unleash 168 F/A-18 Hornets and hundreds of F-35 Lightning II and AV-8 Harrier jets. The Marines can call on around 150 AW-1 Cobra gunships, dozens of Hercules aircraft to move troops and the support of unmanned drones.
We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.